Hey there, I am Brian Fitzpatrick. I'm a student here at Georgia Tech, and this is an experiment of a Rijke tube. In general, a Rijke tube is a pulsating heat source located inside a tube. This heat source then can heat up the air around it and create these little bubbles or pockets of hot gas rising through the tube. These pockets can then translate waves to the walls, in which when the waves hit the nodes or the ends of the tube are reflected back down, it creates standing waves. When these standing waves are in the right position, or when the heat source is in the right position, the standing waves can then drive one another, creating harmonic resonance, then producing sound. That is generally when the heat source is placed about a quarter of the way up the tube, or when the velocity and the pressure standing wave are on both on the positive axis. There's some good effects or some useful effects, I guess, of Rijke tubes, which being the better mixing of gas and air that go on inside the tube. There's a smaller boundary layer inside the tube, which then creates better heat exchange through the gas and the walls. It also drives a better exhaust, faster and hotter. Jet engines are essentially Rijke tubes. They take air in, combust it, send it out. So this theory is extensively used in that. It's also used in industrial drying because of added benefits of heating or heat exchange, as well as sound. Apparently that helps drying stuff. Our experimental setup was with a Rijke tube that was 72 inches long with 4 sensors, a photomultiplier, 18 inches from the base, and 3 pressure transducers located evenly spread 18 inches across every 18 inches across the Rijke tube. There's a fan at the base to amplify the updraft, as well as a valve that we can use to change the pressure inside the tube. So if we want it to match the pressure to match the ambient, we can do that. And then most importantly, there is a pulsating flame with an adjustable position via a scissor jack. Our experimental setup is pretty simple. Here's the Rijke tube. You can see the photomultiplier and the fan. You cannot see the pressure transducers on the back there, but they're there, I promise. And we recorded data at 5 different places. So first being 0 inches with a closed valve, 0 inches with an open valve, 2 inches with a closed valve. And then from there, we raised the heat source until sound stopped. And then we lowered it again until sound started. Just a quick side note, 0 inches and the 2 inches and all the data recorded after this indicate the difference from 18 inches from the base of the tube, or basically the distance from a quarter way of the tube. That's a video of the flame as it goes. I don't know if you can hear the Rijke tube singing or not, but. So from this data, we were able to find, or from this experiment, we found that there was sound produced whenever the valve was closed from 0 inches up to 6.3 inches. But no sound was produced when the valve was closed down to 1 inch. Also, whenever the valve was open, we found that no sound was produced. There's also a great correlation between the flame's behavior and the Rijke tube singing or not, or making sound. When the tube made sound, the flame sputtered and danced violently, but when the Rijke tube was quieter or wasn't singing, the flame stood still. There's also a correlation between the phase and the audible sound. When the sensors were in phase with one another, there was sound produced. However, when sensors were out of phase, there was no sound produced. There's also a great correlation between the frequencies and there being sound. As you can see, 0 inches and 6.3 inches, the peak frequency is not consistent, or not nearly as consistent as it is when the Rijke tube is producing sound. We also found that the peak frequency was similar to what we approximated from our measurement of 70 degrees or 72 degrees Fahrenheit using these equations. Speed of sound equaling square root of gamma RT, and the frequency being the speed of sound over twice the length of the tube. We did some further data reduction, finding how loud the sound produced was. Using a calibration curve, we found that was provided to us. We found that the pressure sensors had for every 100 millivolts detected by the pressure sensor was equivalent to about 1 psi. So using this equation here, where the PRMS is the pressure indicated by the sensor, and the PRMS threshold is just a constant 2.9 times 10 to the negative 9 psi, we were able to find these decibels. Most notably, is how loud these sounds were. For reference, 150 decibels is enough to burst an eardrum by Purdue, or according to Purdue University. And it's equivalent to a jet engine taking off, standing 25 feet away from a jet engine taking off. Also, there's significant amplitude when there's no sound being produced, as seen in 0 open and 6.3 closed, which is surprising to me. In conclusion, Reich tubes can create harmonic oscillation, thereby producing sound. But to do this, there are a couple conditions that have to be met, such as the optimal positioning of the heat source. We saw that when once we raise the heat source up to 6.3 inches, it stops. We also saw that there has to be a difference in pressure from the ambient pressure and the pressure inside the tube to create these sounds. Thank you.